Julia wiped her hands on the stained apron she wore, admiring her latest creation. As a single mother, her life was a constant manipulating act between raising her young son, Ethan, and pursuing her passion for woodworking. Every piece she crafted told a story, and each one brought her closer to her dream of becoming a professional woodworker. Life hadn't been easy since her ex-husband, Max, had left her rudely 5 years ago. The sudden departure had left her broken and alone, but she had found solace in the periodic motions of sawing, sanding, and shaping wood. Over time, her skills had improved, and so had her resolve to provide a better future for Ethan. One evening, as she was scrolling through her emails, an unfamiliar subject line caught her eye. Congratulations, scholarship awarded. Julia's heart raced as she opened the email. It was from a prestigious woodworking institute, informing her that she had won a scholarship to study epoxy resin techniques under the mentorship of a renowned artist, Mark Mills. The opportunity was a dream come true, one that promised to elevate her craftsmanship to new heights. A month later, Julia found herself standing in front of Mark Mills' workshop, a converted shed nestled in the attractive countryside. The large wooden doors were adorned with intricate carvings, hinting at a masterful creations within. She took a deep breath and knocked, her excitement barely contained. Mark opened the door, a warm smile spreading across his face. He was tall and ruggedly handsome, with piercing blue eyes that sparkled with creativity. "You must be Julia," he said, extending a hand. "Welcome, I'm Mark." "It's an honor to meet you, Mark," Julia replied, shaking his hand. "I can't thank you enough for this opportunity." "Let's get started," Mark said, leading her into the workshop. The space was a woodworker's paradise, filled with tools, slabs of wood, and various projects in different stages of completion. A large table dominated the center of the room, its surface gleaming with a thick layer of resin. Over the next few weeks, Julia and Mark worked side by side, crafting a magnificent river table. The table's design featured a flowing river of blue epoxy resin running through the center, mimicking the natural contours of a winding stream. Julia marveled at Mark's expertise and creativity, and under his guidance, her own skills flourished. As they worked, they shared stories about their lives. Julia talked about her love for woodworking, her struggles as a single mother, and her aspirations for the future. Mark, in turn, shared tales of his artistic journey, the challenges he faced, and his love for the crafts. A bond began to form between them, one that went beyond their shared passion for woodworking. One evening, as they were applying the final layer of resin to the table, Mark asked, "So, what led you to woodworking, Julia?" Julia hesitated, the memories of her past surfacing. "It started as a way to cope," she admitted. "My ex-husband left me unexpectedly, and I needed something to focus on, something to keep me going. Woodworking became my escape, my therapy." Mark's expression softened. "I'm sorry to hear that. It must have been tough." "It was," Julia said, her voice steady, "but it has also made me stronger. It taught me that I can survive on my own, that I can provide for my son." Mark nodded, a look of admiration in his eyes. "You are an incredible woman, Julia. Your strength and determination are inspiring." Julia smiled, feeling a warm spread through her. "Thank you, Mark. Your mentorship has been a turning point for me. I feel like I'm finally on the right path." As they continued to work together, Julia found herself increasingly drawn to Mark. There was a connection between them, a chemistry that was undeniable. She wondered if he felt the same, but she was hesitant to risk their professional relationship by pursuing her feelings. Then, one day, Julia stumbled upon something that changed everything. She was searching for a specific tool in Mark's office when she noticed a photograph on his desk. It was a family photo, and her heart skipped a beat as she recognized a familiar face. Max, she whispered, picking up the photo. There was no mistaking it. The man standing next to Mark was her ex-husband. Julia's mind raced as she tried to make sense of the revelation. She had never known much about Mark's family. He had always been elusive about his past, but now it was clear. Mark was Mark's separated brother. The discovery left her reeling, and she couldn't focus on her work. That evening, as they wrapped up for the day, Mark noticed her distraction. "Julia, is everything okay?" he asked, concern fixed on his face. Julia took a deep breath, deciding it was time to confront the truth. "Mark, I found a photo in your office. The man in the picture, he's my ex-husband, Max." Mark's eyes widened in shock. "Max? I can't believe it. He left us years ago. We haven't spoken since." The air grew heavy with tension as they stood there, wrestling with the implications of their connection. "I had no idea you were related," Julia said, her voice trembling. Max never talked about his family. Mark ran a hand through his hair, struggling to process the revelation. "I can't believe this. Of all the people in the world, how did we end up here? Working together?" Julia felt a mix of emotions, confusion, anger, and a deep sense of betrayal. But beneath it all, there was also a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was an opportunity to confront the past and find closure. Over the next few days, the atmosphere in the workshop was tense. Julia and Mark continued their work, but the easy friendship they had shared was replaced by a strange silence. Julia couldn't help but wonder if their newfound connection would destroy the bond they had built. One afternoon, Mark broke the silence. "Julia, I think we need to talk about this, about Max." Julia nodded, her heart heavy. "I agree. There is so much I don't understand." Mark took a deep breath. "Max and I were close growing up, but things changed after our parents died. He became distant and then one day he just disappeared. I tried to find him, but he didn't want to be found." Julia listened, the pain in Mark's voice reflecting her own. "He left me too," she said softly. "One day he was there and the next he was gone. I never understood why." Mark's expression hardened. Mark's expression hardened. Max was always running from something. "I just wish I knew what it was." As they shared their stories, a picture began to emerge. Max had been a troubled man, haunted by his past and unable to face his demons. His disappearance had left a trail of broken hearts and unanswered questions. Despite the pain, Julia and Mark found solace in each other's company. They continued to work on the river table, pouring their emotions into the project. The process was therapeutic, helping them to confront their past and find a way forward. One evening, as they applied the final coat of resin to the table, Mark turned to Julia. "I know this has been difficult, but I'm grateful we found each other. Working with you has been an incredible experience." Julia smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. "I feel the same way, Mark. This table is more than just a piece of furniture. It's a testament to our resilience, to our ability to overcome the past." As they stood back to admire their creation, Julia felt a sense of closure. The river table was a symbol of their journey, a beautiful fusion of wood and resin that reflected their own tangled lives. But their story wasn't over. The connection between Julia and Mark had deepened and they couldn't ignore the feeling that had flowered between them. One evening, as they were cleaning up the workshop, Mark turned to Julia, his eyes filled with emotion. "Julia, there is something I need to tell you," he said, his voice trembling. "I have fallen for you. I know our pasts are complicated, but I can't deny my feelings any longer." Julia's heart raced as she looked into Mark's eyes. She had been wrestling with her own emotions, and now, hearing Mark's confession, she felt a rush of relief. "I've fallen for you too, Mark. she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Mark stepped closer, his hand gently cupping her cheek. I don't know what the future holds, but I want us to face it together. You and Ethan mean everything to me. Tears welled up in Julia's eyes as she leaned into Mark's touch. I want that too, Mark. I want to build a future with you. As they embraced, Julia felt a sense of peace wash over her. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had led her to the most moment, to a new beginning with Mark. Over the next few months, Julia and Mark continued to build their relationship, both personally and professionally. They collaborated on new projects, each piece a testament to their growing bond. Ethan quickly warmed to Mark, and three of them began to form a family, one that was stronger and more resilient than the one Julia had lost. As they worked on their latest project, a beautiful dining table, Julia couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. The pain of the past had shaped her, but it hadn't defined her. Instead, it had led her to Mark, to a new chapter filled with love, creativity, and hope. One evening, as they sat around the finished dining table, Mark raised a glass. To new beginnings, he said, his eyes shining with happiness. Julia smiled, clanking her glass against his. To new beginnings, she echoed, feeling a sense of contentment she had never known. As they enjoyed their meal, Julia realized that the river table had been more than just a project. It had been a journey of healing, of finding love and strength in the most unexpected places, and as she looked at Mark and Ethan, she knew that their story was just beginning. Life was full of twists and turns, of unexpected challenges and surprising connections. But with Mark by her side, Julia felt ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would navigate the river of life, their bond unbreakable, their love a guiding light. Consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this.